Hey guys, Tyler here. James T. Kirk's 5-year mission as captain of the USS Enterprise is nothing short of legendary in popular culture. Much like Pike before him, under Kirk, the Enterprise crew explored strange new worlds, sought out new life and new civilizations, and boldly went where no human had gone before. Except, they did go plenty of places that humans had been before, including Earth colonies, star bases, and so on. Okay, that might sound slightly pedantic, but where did they go? For real. Many attempts have been made to map various locations in Star Trek's Milky Way, both using real astronomical objects as a reference and making educated guesses based on in-universe travel times. But to my knowledge, no one has ever mapped the exact route of Kirk's Enterprise in the original series from start to finish. Well, in this video series, I'm going to boldly go where no one has gone before and attempt to map Kirk's trek through the stars, starting with TOS Season 1. Let's get started. Before we begin, something to consider. What episode order should we use to chart the Enterprise's flight path? You see, TOS was aired out of order compared to the order that each episode was produced. There were various reasons for this, including special effects delays, among other things. But regardless, it led to some weird effects, like the second pilot, Where No Man Has Gone Before, being aired after The Man Trap and Charlie X, despite the uniforms being clearly different and McCoy and Uhura being absent. And don't get me started on stardates. Even when viewed in production order, stardates can still go down from episode to episode. While streaming services like Paramount Plus show TOS episodes in their original release order, for today's purposes, I think it's most logical to map the Enterprise's route based on production order. This is partly because, for virtually every other Trek series, production order and release order are effectively the same. And doing it this way just makes more sense chronologically. You'll see why. As we learned during the run of TOS, Kirk's 5-year mission is not the Enterprise's first time in deep space, with the show's original pilot, The Cage, taking place in 2254. Where No Man Has Gone Before, on the other hand, takes place in 2265. After picking up Dr. Elizabeth Daner at the Aldebaran colony, the Enterprise travels far away from core Federation space, all the way to the Galactic Barrier. You may recall I made a video about the Galactic Barrier recently, in which I described how this negative energy field surrounds the Milky Way's disk, being thickest at the rim of the galaxy. Since space is three-dimensional, one could theoretically encounter the barrier by traveling straight up from the Sol system, but we know that the Enterprise has a different destination, the planet Delta Vega, home of a lithium cracking station where they can use power cells to repair the Enterprise's damaged systems. We don't know exactly where Delta Vega is, but Stellar Cartography, the Starfleet reference library, places it what looks like a few thousand light years up the Orion Spur. Pretty far for a 23rd century ship, but the Federation does have an outpost in this sector, Starbase 237. Episode 2, The Corbinite Maneuver, takes place in 2266 and depicts first contact between Starfleet and the First Federation near its capital, Visarius. Episode 3, Mudd's Women, sees the Enterprise visit Rigel 12 to obtain even more lithium crystals, but this time to repair some androids Harry Mudd intends to deliver to Ophiuchus 3. Rigel 12's closeness to Ophiuchus 3, which Stellar Cartography cites as the 36 Ophiuchi system 19 light-years away from Earth, most likely indicates that this isn't the real Rigel, which is 863 light-years away. Instead, stellar cartographers have coined the name Beta Rigel to describe this relatively nearby system, populated by various species called Rigelian. Beta Rigel would, in the Star Trek universe, probably be an optical companion of the real Rigel from Earth's perspective, though no such star exists in real life. Indeed, its existence could be the result of an ancient astro-engineering project. We know that multiple ancient civilizations were capable of moving stars, and it's been proposed that a Type 2 civilization or higher, on the Kardashev scale, could do this in our universe. By the way, how many of you would like a video about the Rigel systems in Star Trek? It's a super niche topic for sure, but I have thoughts. Anyway, Episode 4, The Enemy Within, yep, that one where a transporter accident splits Kirk into two people, sees the Enterprise visit Alpha 177 on a scientific research mission. Alpha 177 is canonically located in the Alpha Quadrant, and stellar cartography places it just west of the original 2161 UFP border from a top-down perspective. Following this, in Episode 5, The Man Trap, the Enterprise visits the planet M113, home of the Salt Vampire. M113's location, both in canon and on 21st century reference maps, is indeterminate. However, the now outdated 1980 reference book, Star Trek Maps, also places it just slightly west of the original UFP border in the Alpha Quadrant, so in the absence of contradicting evidence, I've decided to place it in a similar spot. In Episode 6, The Naked Time, the Enterprise crew is intoxicated by polywater from the disintegrating planet Psi 2000, also located in the Alpha Quadrant. Episode 7, Charlie X, sees the crew transport the youngster Charles Evans, enhanced with psionic powers by the Thasians, to Colony Alpha 5. Stellar cartography places the Alpha system in the same general region of the Alpha Quadrant we've been traversing so far. Episode 8, Balance of Terror, introduces the Romulans, who are suspected of destroying 3 Earth outposts along the Romulan neutral zone. Episode 9, What Are Little Girls Made Of, sees the Enterprise visit the planet XO3 in search of scientist Dr. Roger Corby, who has encountered a civilization of androids on this planet. The exosystem, which is supposedly near Midos 5 and Earth Colony 2, is also not mapped in modern reference materials. However, Star Trek Maps places Exo and Midos in the Beta Quadrant near Deneva, which orbits Kappa Fornacis 72 light-years away. Episode 10, Dagger of the Mind, sees the Enterprise visit Tantalus 5, home of a Federation penal colony, for a routine cargo drop. The Tantalus system has similarly never been mapped in 21st century references, but Star Trek Maps places it a few degrees east of Janus and about halfway to the original UFP border in the Alpha Quadrant near Starbase 11, which means I'm relatively comfortable placing it here. In Episode 11, Miri, the Enterprise comes across a perfect replica of the Earth populated by elderly children who survived a global disaster. This world is located in the FGC 347601 system, which canonically sits just east of the Alpha-Beta Quadrant border and about 3/4 of the way from Earth to Kazinti space. In Episode 12, The Conscience of the King, the Enterprise is diverted 3 light-years from its destination, Planet Q, where it is to investigate reports of synthetic foods which promise to ease chronic shortages on Cygnia Minor. Planet Q is canonically located in the Beta Quadrant near the Batrika Nebula and the Federation Klingon border. We don't know exactly where Cygnia Minor is, but in any event, the reports turn out to be false. Episode 13, The Galileo 7, sees members of the Enterprise crew stranded on a planet near quasar Murasaki 312, en route to Machus 3 to deliver medical supplies. Fun fact, like Planet Q before it, Machus 3 is a Federation world, home to a race of tall humanoids called the Makusians, seen in the Season 2 episode Journey to Babel. In Episode 14, Court Martial, Kirk is tried for the death of one of his subordinates, Finney, at Starbase 11. The next episode, The Menagerie Part 1, also takes place primarily at Starbase 11, with the Enterprise subsequently traveling to Talos 4, home of the Talosians, which was visited in Star Trek's original pilot, The Cage. This is also where the conclusion of the two-parter takes place as well. Episode 17, Shore Leave, introduces the Shore Leave planet, where mind and matter start to collide. This planet is in the Omicron Delta region, another area that, to my knowledge, hasn't been mapped in practically any reference materials. The closest thing I can find is the placement of a system simply called Omicron near Illyria in Star Trek maps. Since Illyria is canonically in the Beta Quadrant, and the Shore Leave planet is supposed to be in previously uncharted space, I'm putting it here. But so far, this is the biggest guess I've made, so take it with a grain of salt. Episode 18, The Squire of Gothos, introduces the Q-like alien Trelane, inhabiting the rogue planet Gothos, which resides on the other side of a star desert 900 light-years from Earth near Beta 6. Maps places this vaguely in what I'd call the Beta Quadrant, a few degrees in the sky away from Darren 5, which itself is placed halfway between Memory Alpha and the Romulan Neutral Zone. In Episode 19, Arena, the Enterprise visits Cestus 3 to find the colony has been attacked by the Gorn. They pursue a Gorn ship 22.3 parsecs to uncharted space near 2466 PM, which, as it turns out, is in a region controlled by the godlike Metrons. The Metrons famously force Kirk and the Gorn captain to fight, and upon Kirk's victory, he and the Enterprise are transported 500 parsecs away. Except, we're not told 500 parsecs in which direction. Indeed, in the subsequent episode, The Alternative Factor, the Enterprise comes across an iron silica planet inhabited by Lazarus, a scientist driven mad by exposure to an antimatter dimension. Yeah, we have no idea where any of that takes place. For the sake of brevity, I'm drawing a line in the Enterprise's route from Metron space straight to Earth, its destination in Episode 21, Tomorrow is Yesterday, in which the Enterprise accidentally travels to 1969 after encountering a black star en route to Starbase 9. By the way, here's Starbase 9, just beyond the original UFP border in the Alpha Quadrant. In Episode 22, The Return of the Archons, the Enterprise finds the crash site of the 22nd century Earth ship, Archon, the planet Beta 3, home to a civilization that blindly obeys a machine intelligence called Landru. Beta 3 is in the FGC 111 star system, also in the Alpha Quadrant, somewhat near Cardassian space. Episode 23, A Taste of Armageddon, sees the Enterprise visit Eminiar 7, home to a civilization at war with members of their species who have colonized Eminiar 3. These planets are in star system FGC 321, which stellar cartography places in the Alpha Quadrant halfway between Klingon and Tholian space, presumably in the constellation Cetus. I say presumably in the constellation Cetus because in the episode, the Eminiar system is said to be located in star cluster NGC 321, which is almost certainly an error given NGC 321 is a distant galaxy over 200 million light-years away, 100 times more distant than Andromeda. In Episode 24, Space Seed, the Enterprise encounters the SS Botany Bay en route to Starbase 12 in the Gamma 400 system. Botany Bay, of course, carries the augment Khan Noonien Singh and 72 of his followers from the period of Earth's eugenics wars in the late 20th century. Famously, Khan and his people are left to tame the world of Ceti Alpha 5, which no doubt orbits the real star Alpha Ceti 250 light-years away. Stellar cartography and its predecessor, Star Trek Star Charts, place Ceti Alpha much farther away in the Beta Quadrant near Metron space, despite the system canonically being in the Alpha Quadrant, which would be more consistent with the location of other stars in the Cetus constellation. However, the Mutara sector, containing the Mutara Nebula seen in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, is canonically located in the Beta Quadrant. So, in my next major deviation from the chief Trek star mapping sources, I'm placing Ceti Alpha closer to Mira, or Omicron Ceti, which, by the way, is the setting of the next episode, This Side of Paradise, in which alien spores influence the Enterprise crew to experience total happiness, before the effects wear off and they head to Starbase 27. Episode 26, The Devil in the Dark, introduces the Horta, native to Janus 6, the site of a Federation mining colony. Episode 27, Errand of Mercy, takes place on the Beta Quadrant planet Organia, and introduces both the Klingons and the Organians. Episode 28, The City on the Edge of Forever, begins and ends on the planet housing the Guardian of Forever, which stellar cartography places in the Alpha Quadrant near the former territory of the Takan Empire, introduced in the Next Generation episode, The Last Outpost. And finally, in episode 29, Operation Annihilate, the Enterprise approaches the Deneva colony, which has been attacked by flying parasites. As I mentioned earlier, Deneva is cited by numerous sources as orbiting the real star Kappa Fornacis, placing it in the Beta Quadrant and in core Federation territory. The Enterprise's destination after this is Starbase 10, which canonically sits near the Romulan neutral zone. To say that the writing of this video was a massive undertaking would be an understatement. More massive of an undertaking was creating the map for this video in the first place. But of course, we're only getting started. In a future video, I will continue this series by mapping the Enterprise's route in TOS Season 2. In the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below and don't forget to share it. That stuff really helps me out. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that as well so you won't miss future uploads, and click the bell icon to receive all notifications. If you want to support my work even further, becoming a patron or a member is a great way to do so. Links to those, as well as my social media and merch store, are in the description. That's all I have for this week. Live long and prosper.